If this book exists, you're in the wrong universe. Monday, August 22nd, 8:08 p.m. Gingerbread Men. Hunger at 55%. Me. I was sitting at John's kitchen table again, with John, Joy, and Amy all staring at me. Each of them had paused in the act of putting a piece of food in their mouths, holding a slice of cheese, a pretzel, and an olive, respectively. I said, "How long was I out?" Amy said, "Were you out? You said you got the sauce in your finger like 5 seconds ago." It seemed longer than that. Amy grabbed her phone and set it to record audio. "Tell me what you saw, before you forgot. Anything that might be important." I shook my head. Man, I didn't learn shit. I saw, I guess, a bunch of alternate lives I could have lived. Some where I was rich, some where I was poor. One where I was working in a POW camp or something. The details are already fading. I don't know. It was weird. John said, "I tried rubbing my fingers in the book, but it didn't work for me." He looked around the room. Or did it? I stood up. I need air. I actually wasn't sure what I needed, but I'd always heard people on TV say they needed to go outside for air, so I figured I would try it. I think I really just needed to know I was free of that place I had been. I could still smell it, like I'd brought back particles in my nostrils. I stepped out onto John's porch and instantly broke into a sweat. The sun had gone down, but the nights in August were just the smoldering coals left over from the day. I breathed in the steamy air and tried to ground myself in this world, remind myself that I wasn't surrounded by brick and wailing humanity, that above me were stars, and across the street was a bunch of giggling kids doing stunts on kick scooters and recording them with their phones. The door opened behind me, and in a low voice, Joy said, "You're acting strange, and it's scaring Amy." "You said I was only gone for 5 seconds. Then I came out here. What's scary about that?" "You changed. In those few seconds. Like the look on your face got all weird. Like you were a different person for a moment. Then you came back, and you kind of still look like that other person." Before I could reply, the door opened again. "You need a drink?" asked John. "Nah, just give me a second. Just need to gather myself." He lit a cigarette. "Want to take up smoking? This could be the perfect time." "No, thank you." The door opened once more, and Amy appeared, holding the Zarkrax book, one finger poked into the pages to mark where she left off. Before she could ask, I said, "I'm fine. I really am. It's just disorienting. It always is. On one hand, I only perceived several minutes of time while I was away, but also it felt like I'd lived several other lifetimes, or briefly lived as someone with all of their years and baggage and stuff in their heads, if that makes sense. You know how sometimes you'll have dreams where you get really mad at me? Then when you wake up, you're still kind of mad? It's like that." I turned to face them, and I have to say, I actually don't remember what we were doing before I started tripping. I mean, I recall the general scenario, but not what we were talking about. "We have to rudely interrupt a summoning ritual," said John. "And we either have to not attempt to kill Bass at all, or we have to absolutely kill his ass all the way, but nothing in between. The one thing that cannot happen is we try to kill him and fail, because that's fulfilling a prophecy, I guess. And we still don't know where he is or where the summoning will take place. You didn't happen to have a vision about where this thing will happen tonight, did you?" "I had a vision about this." I pointed at the cover of the Zarkrax book behind Amy's forearm. I saw the town from overhead, overlaid with this design. Whatever my brain was trying to tell me, it should have been less symbolic and more literal, because I have no idea. The book doesn't give us any clue. Amy, happy to be back on task, sat on the steps of the porch and opened the book in her lap. She glanced back at Joy and said, "Light?" Joy activated the light on her phone and shined it on the book. "Everybody stay quiet and let me just find this. It has to be in here somewhere." Instead of staying quiet, John said, "You said there are pictures in the back, right? Start there." "Why?" Because a picture is worth 1,000 words. So that's just more efficient, time-wise. Seriously, hush. We don't know how much time we... Oh, you're right. Here it is. It's the last picture before the one of Sebastian. It's a drawing, not a very good one. It's called Defeating Death, and I think it shows... Is this Bass stepping out of a UFO? We gathered around under Joy's cell phone light. The illustration was in the style of an old-time etching and depicted a group of soldiers attacking a man standing proud in front of a large black disc. Corpses littered the ground at his feet. John leaned over the drawing. That's not a UFO. That's the turd polisher. I said, The what? The wastewater treatment plant. Down the road from the water tower? See those little buildings behind him? I've been out there when Tyler used to work security. That big black circle is one of the clarifiers. The big pool's where the water sits so the solid poop can settle to the bottom. You can see another one in the background. I squinted at the drawing. Are you sure? How in the hell would you hold cult rituals at the wastewater treatment plant? I feel like the staff would notice. They actually wouldn't, said Amy. Half of it closed. It got damaged in the flood, and they decommissioned a whole section because the town's population has dropped so much they don't need it anymore. John nodded. Yeah, 3 of the pools are just sitting there. Tyler said they got in trouble with the state because mosquitoes were breeding in the stagnant water. I thought for a moment and said, Wait, let me see the cover of the book again. Instead of showing it to me, Amy checked it herself and said, I think you're right. You don't even know what I was going to say. She pointed to a spot in the lower left of the complicated design and said, That's the treatment plant down there, right? And all those little lines are sewer lines running under every street. It's a map of the city's drainage. Yeah, but why? Is drainage a major part of their religion? Are they going to put poison in the water? I haven't seen anything like that in the book, but, I've just been skimming. John stood up straight and tied his hair back. Doesn't matter. We've got our time, and we've got our location. Let's go up to the gun safe, see what exactly I have for this strangely specific scenario. We'll flip for who gets to wear the foreskin vest. Joy said, I knew you guys could do it. You're the filthiest. Let's go eat their hearts out. Everyone made their way to the door. I stayed put. I said, Just give me a minute. Just let me think. The prophecy is that the world will end in 2112, right? But the part with Bass surviving an assassination attempt and starting this nerd religion, that's not prophecy. That's already happened. We know that because this book exists, and Bass has been in active contact with an older version of himself who will only exist if that exact thing happens tonight. Right, said John. That's what I was saying. It doesn't make sense. Why not? Maybe if we do it right, this book vanishes. Or maybe it will turn out to just not be true. He flicked his cigarette into the yard and headed into the house, saying, I'm thinking those riot-control beanbag rounds for the shotgun. That'd take the fight out of him, right? Would getting pelted in the gut with a beanbag count as an assassination attempt in their psalms and legends? They all headed inside, toward the stairs. I reluctantly followed everyone up to John's bedroom. He went to his gun safe in the corner. It was the size of a wardrobe, and I leaned against the wall. Then I turned, glanced at the patch of wall next to John's bed, sighed, and said, Oh, kiss my shit. Amy said, What? The patch of wall I was staring at was the part that would be on the opposite side of Joy's closet in the next room, which I knew because I had a vivid memory of having knocked out a whole section of that wall because a corpse had gotten embedded in it. The wall I was looking at, however, was untouched. There was no sign of fresh paint or repair. I said, Did we fix this? John studied my face. Fix what? The hole in the wall, where the guy came through. Amy and John exchanged glances. Joy said, Ew, this is too creepy. I hate this. Somebody make him stop. Amy led me over to the bed and gently sat me down. You're mixed up. Probably because of the sauce. You normally take more time to recover than this. I stared at the wall, rubbing my chin, trying to make sense of it. John said, "Try to remember. I called you, right? I said I had a vision of that happening, the ghost in the wall. Then you got here and everything was fine. Same as with your laundry getting folded weird and a bunch of other things. Our memories are glitching out. That's all." Without answering, I stood and headed back down the stairs, then out to John's backyard. I headed for the spot in the corner near the fence where we had buried the wall guy's ashes and bones, the stuff the incinerator couldn't quite get rid of. Even in the darkness, it was clear that the spot was nothing but a patch of undisturbed weeds. I heard Amy's footsteps behind me. "What are you looking for?" Without turning to face her, I asked, "Is this real? Am I here?" "I don't know how to answer a question like that. I kind of wish I hadn't brought up the whole simulation thing. It's messing with everybody." "It's not you. It's all of this. Everything getting garbled up and mixed around. It's making me feel like nothing I do matters." "But you know that's not true. If not for things you did up to now, I wouldn't be here. John wouldn't be here. Joy wouldn't be here." I said, "I still don't know why Joy is here." "I do. We all made choices, and here we are, all still alive, all able to make more choices. That's the best you're going to get, the chance to keep trying. If it turns out it's an illusion or a dream or whatever, so what? Your choices are your choices. They're the only thing that's real because they're the only part you can control." "Are you sure? That we can control them, I mean." "I'm sure that if I'm wrong, then nothing matters anyway." John joined us in the yard. "Sounds like somebody needs to put $1 in the free will argument jar." Amy said, "He just needs to get his bearings." I said, "Sure." I reached out to take her hand, mostly to confirm to myself that she, too, was real. Her fingernails were painted green. Had they been like that before? Would I have noticed? John said, "Let's load up. We need to make a list of what we think we'll need, and we have to make it all fit in one van. As for what we actually have to do tonight, we'll figure it out when we get there. We always do. I mean, eventually." Based on what John had packed into the van, we were ready for just about every possible scenario, and at least a dozen impossible ones. That's why it was a little discouraging when, even before we left the rural highway that would lead us to the wastewater treatment plant, Amy said, "What did you bring to get through the fence?" and got only awkward silence as an answer. I could see it as soon as we turned off onto the inlet road that encircled the plant. A tall, serious fence topped with razor wire. It made perfect sense. You don't want a terrorist or disgruntled employee dumping toxins in the water, but it stopped our plan in its tracks. Right now, that plan consisted entirely of wandering around the dormant part of the facility until we stumbled across a bunch of nerds setting up for a summoning ritual. If we got arrested for trying to break in, no story we could tell the cops would get us back out before it was too late. I asked John, "Does Tyler still do security here? If so, is he working the booth at the gate?" "Nah, he got fired," replied John as he made his way down the access road. "Security camera caught him pissing in one of the clarifier pools." Amy said, "It's interesting that you see the cause of his firing being the camera catching him, rather than him doing it." She pointed at the windshield. "Who's that?" John skidded to a stop. Standing in the middle of the road was a man in a suit, looking like he'd been calmly waiting for us. Without a word, John pulled over and hopped out, acting like he knew the guy. The man had a muscular build and long, blonde hair. I'd seen him before, in slices, on the floor of John's bedroom. As the rest of us approached, John said, "Dave, this is the Time Captain." Joy said, "Whoa, déjà vu." "That is not my name nor my job title," said the Time Captain. "I am here to keep you on track, but I can't stay long." "Great. How about you start by telling us exactly who you are, and who you work for, and what's going on in general. And then I have several other questions once you're done with those." "My name is Tim Kaplan. I am just a man. I moved here a few years ago, from Peoria. As for who I work for, I like to think I work for the universe, like you." "Oh no," I said. "I am in no mood for cryptic answers that are clearly designed to elicit a follow-up question. I'm asking who employs you, who signs your paychecks. I've never gotten one signed by the universe, and I'm very sure that we do not work for the same employer." "You were paid just yesterday. The universe arranged a sale from your collection, right when you needed it." "You mean our sale of our doll that barely covered the cost of Amy's glasses? So you're saying we do the work, and the universe swoops in later and takes credit? You know what, that does sound like an employer." Amy said, "We think we've done all this before, and that you reset the timeline. Is that right?" "It is." "So you are, effectively, a god?" "No. I can reset from this specific point, because of what happened on this specific night. I would say it's purely due to happenstance. But as I said, I believe the universe placed me here to fix all of this, if it can be fixed. I believe I acquired my abilities the same way you acquired yours, but they are limited. For example, it is a tremendous strain for me to remain here, right now." I said, "If we screw it up again, you can just let us retry it?" "Yes, but doing so comes at great cost, more than you can comprehend, and there is no guarantee you will even make it back to this point." John said, "Fine. So can you give us a strategy guide on how to successfully beat this next part?" "The gap in the fence you require doesn't exist yet, but it will. The samurai will arrive in about 20 minutes and cut a hole right down there. See where the light is out on the utility pole. It is also a blind spot for the security cameras. Wait patiently, and you can follow them in through the same spot, undetected." I said, "Okay, and then what?" "You will either successfully kill Sebastian, or you won't. From this point forward, that is all I know. The entity orchestrating this will attempt to thwart you, but I cannot predict its strategy." Next question. "I, and only I, have a distinct memory of your death, of your corpse in pieces on John's bedroom floor." I paused, and Joy said, "That wasn't a question." "Oh, right. So what's the deal with that?" "You are experiencing interference between realities and possible realities, but are struggling to keep them separate in your memory," said TC. "As you can see, I am standing here intact. You can touch me to see if I am solid if you have doubts. I am not immortal any more than you are, and I do not reset with the universe. If I die, I die." Amy said, "Why are you so sure killing Bass is the only way to stop him?" "Ask yourself. If you successfully discovered a way to turn him away while leaving him alive, what would prevent him from simply trying again? I know that you do not prefer this path, and I understand that. But that is how this universe works. We purchase safety and comfort with suffering. The Black Death brought us the Renaissance. Death now, life later." I said, "And just to be clear, you have no other abilities that can help us. You can't go back and blink Bass out of existence, prevent his conception, whatever?" "I can only pull this one lever that is available to me. All of us, me, you, Sebastian, are playing within the rules of the game." John said, "And the universe's ability to assist us at this stage extends only to having you reset and then tell us where the nerds are going to cut a hole in the fence." "I assure you, extreme measures will be taken should you fail." He pointed to the sky. "It will be as if God himself has cast down a star to smite them." I said, "Consider this me asking the obligatory follow-up question that your cryptic statement requires. There is a space-based weapons platform in geosynchronous orbit 36,000 kilometers overhead. But it is a blunt weapon designed to pulverize concrete missile silos, not kill individual human beings. If all else fails, keep Sebastian here until it impacts. But I assume you agree that we would all prefer a solution that is more, let's say, surgical in nature." Joy said, "And when you thought surgical, you immediately thought of these guys." "I'm sorry, said Amy. I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. You're now threatening to blow all of this up with your space laser if we don't successfully kill Bass ourselves.
It is not a laser, and it belongs to the United States government, run by the innocuously named Defense Support Program. The order to fire will come from a military official whose name none of us will ever know. Again, I have only seen these events play out before. For me to know that the satellite will strike is not the same as me making it so. The samurai will be here soon. Bass and Gracie will arrive shortly after. You should get out of sight until they are inside the fence. If word leaks that there is a hostage situation involving a child, the police will come, and that will only complicate matters. Which, again, I know only from experience. I do wish you luck, but I must be going.
Amy said, Just one more question. Why do we keep suddenly skipping ahead in time?
The time captain seemed confused by this, but I realized in that moment that I actually knew the answer. I said, Oh, that's not him or the magpie. That's caused by the other version of... Before I could finish the sentence, Amy and the rest of the world disappeared from in front of me.